In this in-depth interview, you're going to learn 5 magic discovery questions, a different approach to BANT, and a mutual action plan that's going to help you better qualify deals and close more 7-figure career-changing deals and avoid being put on a PIP and fired for missing your forecast. I get to have a conversation with a legend, Rod Corbin, who's been in tech sales for 42, 43 something years. He sold at Oracle and closed $20 million deals as an individual contributor. And over the past 5 years, or for 5 total years, he was a trainer at Oracle, working with SDRs, account executives, and even leaders, and he shaped the Oracle training methodology. Guys, you want to stay for the whole conversation and translate what you learn into action. And by the way, this conversation is brought to you by Zoom Info. More on them in a bit. Rod, my guy, thanks so much for joining, man. How's your morning going so far?
Great, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, let's get into your frameworks for qualifying deals. It's powerful. There's different components. Your 5 magic questions,
Right.
your Mr. Bant approach to
Right.
qualifying deals, a little different than the typical Bant.
Yep.
And then your mutual action plan. So first off, can you frame why is qualifying deals so important as a enterprise account executive?
Well, a lot of old sayings, right? Been around for a while. One of the things that I remember learning is if you're not being successful in sales, you're either having the right conversation with the wrong people or the wrong conversation with the right people. So BANT is a qualification technique, or I use Mr. BANT. We'll talk about why later. Will help you to qualify, so you're spending your time, which is your most valuable resource, working on opportunities that actually have a chance of closing.
Yeah.
So it's qualification and forecasting, right? So for your career stability, being able to have tight, accurate forecast, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So this will help you with that.
Why is forecasting so important? Like, paint a picture of like how it impacts leadership and why reps should care about that stuff.
Well, it all starts with the CEO, right, and the board. Their ability, particularly for publicly traded companies, their ability to forecast impacts shareholder value, right? So, and the CEO's number one role or number one goal is to maximize shareholder value. And so the ability to go to the street and say, okay, we met our forecast for last quarter, that affects stock price, and here's what we're forecasting for next quarter. It demonstrates that you know your business, which gives the street confidence to invest in your company, right? That bleeds down. That accurate forecast goes down to the senior vice president of sales, to the sales directors, to the regional managers, to the reps. It just feeds, back and forth. Does that make sense?
It does. And I've seen sellers at great companies like Databricks that crushed it one year and went to President's Club,
Right.
and they were fired the next because they kept missing their forecast.
Yeah.
Kind of like reminds me of The Boy Who Cried Wolf, that and things didn't line up. And so it actually can cost you your job.
Yes.
Right. And leadership needs to have the right data to report up the chain. We were having a conversation. It can cost a big company billions of dollars if their sellers aren't accurately forecasting
their opportunities. That's right.
And you also talk about time being our most precious asset. And I mean, if we're wasting time with the wrong companies, having the wrong conversations, it does come back to our job being on the line.
Right.
Like we're not going to hit our targets. Anything else you want to add on the criticality of managing our time? Otherwise, after that, we'll start to shift into a role play and some of the questions and flow from there.
No, just the one thing that came to mind is at Oracle, we had a saying, once you forecast an opportunity, it's like, are you forecasting this in blood?
Yes.
Right. And so that's when you know that, this is important and it's critical. And your job could be on the line based on that. So
yes. So this is a make or break conversation, guys. Make sure to pay attention, take notes, and turn it into action to close those big deals and avoid being put on that PIP. We don't want that. So we're going to walk through a role play where you are an Oracle Enterprise sales executive, or account executive, whatever way, it's funny how sellers, we can fluff up our titles, but you're an account executive in the enterprise space, selling to a prospect, one of the largest energy companies in the world.
Which was actually my last role.
It was your last role, and we told the audience you closed $20 million deals, which is, it's cool to have reached that level. There's a different level of complexity. And those are the deals where this qualification really matters, right? So that's who you are. Now, I'm the chief technology officer at this leading energy company. And what we're going to do in this role play is we're going to see how you can take your 5 magic qualification questions and turn it into an actual conversation rather than just interrogating like, oh, do you have budget? What's your timeline? And that's like, even if you get the answers, You're gonna wonder, whoa, why did they ghost me? Because you felt like an interview and you weren't like
Right.
actually having a conversation. Anything else you want to add on in terms of the importance of the like this role play and how the audience should think about it and the importance of these questions?
Well, it's not just for large deals, for small deals, right? I mean,
Oh, okay.
qualifying. It is unique to the Mr. of the Mr. Band is somewhat unique to technology sellers where there's implementation involved.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Just so one thing that sets it aside a little bit. But other than that, it fits any seller in any size, any product.
Yes. So for a seller like me, I was at Oracle, Google Cloud, a managed service provider that helped with cloud migrations. It's particularly useful, although it'll apply to any seller, regardless of the deal size. But especially if you're in the playing at the big poker tables with monster deals like cloud migrations, this is very useful.
Yep.
And that's one other piece of context I want to add for the audience is that not only, you know, are you the enterprise seller selling to one of the largest energy companies in the world, and I'm the CTO, but we're looking at a potential cloud migration, just to put in context for the audience. And that's going to include a lot of project management and eventually like delivery and things like that.
Right.
So are you ready to get into it?
Ready to go? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say, I mean, I join a conversation with you. One other piece of context is this is after a discovery call has happened. Where does this fit
Correct.
in?
So where we're at is we've you know we had to start the meeting. We've discussed some of your needs, right? Around there's just kind of high level business needs, what you're trying to accomplish, and we get to the point where I go, okay, I think that we can. We work with other customers that has some similar issues, and I'm confident that we can help you with those. Okay, so that's
Okay, cool.
then pick up the conversation from there. Okay, does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, let's do it. And so maybe we're so maybe I just join the meeting, like, or is it a phone call? Is it a
Either
Google?
one.
Okay, so we're on a, let's say I've used Google Meet. It could be a Zoom. Here we are.
Yep.
Rod, how's it going?
It's a Zoom. It's going well. Going well. So, based on what we've talked about so far, I'm pretty confident these are things that we can help you with. Right? We've helped other companies like yourself, accomplish these things. So, just wanted to really further understand some of the things that we're going to do moving forward. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you were going to move forward with this implementation, with this project, when would it need to be implemented by?
We'd need this implemented, I'd say by March of next year, which is
Okay.
the end of Q1, because we run on the annual fiscal year.
Okay, that makes sense. And just curious, what's driving that timeline?
Well, you know, we're an ISV or like a software company that has customers of ours that their customers are asking for certain capabilities. And we've got a couple customers of ours that want a cloud-based solution of ours
Right.
deployed by a certain time frame.
Right.
And our solution's actually going to impact their ability to serve those customers and even recognize revenue, you know, and
Right.
of course that trickles down to us too. We want to stand up the solution, get it sold, start bringing in revenue, especially in a recurring model since it's
Yeah.
software, and they need to deliver for their clients too. So that's our situation.
What happens if you don't meet that timeline? God forbid.
If we don't meet the timeline to stand up for our client, then they won't meet the timeline for theirs.
Okay.
Their business is at risk, and they're looking at probably 6 to 7 figure contract. And for us, it's the same.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, ours might be like deep 6 figures approaching a 7-figure deal, which is actually on the larger end of our typical deals.
Okay.
So there's money on the line for them and for us to the tune of 6 pushing 7 figures
So there's
plus.
that ripple effect, that
Yeah.
customer waiting on a customer scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about some of your needs. What else would you need to know to make a decision? What else would you need to know as a CTO?
Yeah, we did see a little bit of, and I've looked at some of your case studies, and in the past conversation, it's cool to see a little bit of a demo of what you guys do, but we need to see proof of the technology working in action on our actual data, supporting like basically a pilot.
Okay.
And we need to see certain technical metrics that like availability, performance, and in addition to the technical requirements, we need to see the total cost of ownership. We're not necessarily looking for the cheapest solution in the market. We need the value, especially because this is tied to driving revenue for
Right.
us and our customers. But we do need it to be cost effective and to make business sense.
Okay.
Because hey, you're not the only option we're looking at too. So a pilot would actually help us prove out the technical value and the business, the financial projections.
Okay. So I'd be surprised if you weren't looking at other options. In fact, if you told me you weren't, I'd be a little suspicious. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's doing your due diligence. So you need to see a proof of concept. So basically a pilot. And generally what we do in this circumstance, particularly because the technology is really Oracle native technology, it's native to our company, is we'll do a pilot to production. Right. That way the effort that we use, because you guys are going to spend some time, we're going to spend some time and resources building it out. So a pilot to production scenario takes what we built, and then we can move that into production as we move forward, right? So we don't throw all that away. And then you said a TCO, so we certainly can build that out for you. We'll want to talk to some of your finance people to kind of work those problems out and see what makes sense to them. That sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Okay. Um, so typically in a scenario like this, particularly with a critical implementation or project, what we see is there's typically at least 7 people involved with the decision making, right? So as a CTO, something this big, probably your CFO will be involved, someone from your implementation team, your infrastructure team. Tell me, who else would be involved, what needs to be involved to make the decision to drive this forward?
The CFO will help handle the dollars and cents, and
Okay.
there'll be some negotiation.
Okay. Sure.
We've got the general counsel on the legal side that we're going to look at the T's and C's, and
Okay.
especially because we're going to be handling sensitive customer information. Info security is going to be involved too, and we're going to need to pass their audit.
Okay.
Engineering will support the actual pilot itself, and IT is also going to be involved. So
Okay.
even product, right? This is ultimately the product team rolling up to me, the CTO, taking this
Yep.
to market for our customers. So they're going to need to be involved. So it's really a team effort.
Right. So CFO, financials, the infotech, right, the assurance security, your product team to make sure this is something that's going to be customer friendly and basically representing the face of your company, right, as an application. Okay, and legal. So we probably want to get that going pretty soon. We'll talk about that as we move forward. Um, so this sounds pretty critical, and I just have to ask you this last question. This is probably project been budgeted. I have to assume it has been, but just want to get confirmation that it is.
Yeah, it's been budgeted. We've been talking to this customer for a long time, and we also always leave room for budget. We know there's going to be big clients we want to win, and this is an important one. So
Okay, okay. And now, just for the audience, this is where we make the transition to having a client, and it's really important that the customer agree to this this methodology, right? This plan to move forward. We're going to turn a sales cycle basically into a project management cycle or a project management exercise. Okay. So, so Chris, we talked about what your needs are. We talked about who else needs to be involved. Projects budgeted. And we're talking about building out a pilot to production scenario, right? Sounds to me like you guys are going to invest a lot of time and effort and resources, and candidly, so are we. So to ensure that we're making the best use of our time and our resources, do you think it might make sense if and I'll do the work, I'll build it out, build out a project plan, right? That talks about like what's our next step, who's involved, what are we hoping to accomplish, what's the status of it. It would be like a living working document that can help us manage this moving forward. For 2 reasons. One, again, make sure we're making the best use of our resources. And 2, we want to stay on time, right? We want to keep things on time to meet that March 31st deadline. Does that sound fair to you?
yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay, so tell you what I'll do. I'll spend some time. I'll spend a day or two working through it, building out a plan. What I'd like you to do is I'll send it to you, take a look at it, see what makes sense, see what I missed, or if I need to add anything or if something doesn't make sense to you, feel free to edit it, and then we'll talk on. So today's Monday. Why don't we get together, say same time Wednesday, and we'll review the plan, and then with something we can use to move forward on.
Yeah,
How's that
I
sound?
can make that work. It would have to be in the afternoon.
Okay, same time.
Yeah, the same time works. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Any other things you want to cover in this meeting today?
Well, something that I'd like to understand is how things typically work after a pilot. Does like say it meets our criteria? Does it typically go right into negotiations? Are we kind of locked in to moving forward?
No,
What does that look like?
so after the pilot, We're not locked in. What we'll do is it'll be. I want to do two things from a demo perspective, right? I want to give you a high level business demo, right? Just like what does it look like? What's it going to look like? The pilot would actually be sitting down, my SC, my technical resources sitting down with your implementation team and starting to build it up and build it out. Okay. Once we've done that and we demonstrate that it does function and provide the capabilities that you're looking for, we will continue. So, and there's two sides uh, to this exercise, if you will. There's the technical side, then there's the business side. So as we prove that out, the next step would obviously be to negotiate the agreement, right? So we had done the TCO as a part of that. We would have submitted and it'll be in the project plan. We would have submitted our standard terms and conditions, or actually we have those that have been negotiated with you. We have a master agreement in place with you now. So we'll submit that to your legal to see if they need to make any changes, see if that will fly. And then we will move forward from there. Once we've done negotiations, we'll put a order document in front of you, have you execute that, and we'll move forward from there. What's as important is not just up to that point. So we will have an implementation plan put in place. We will because change management can be challenging, right? That can also hinder your ability to meet your timelines. So we'll talk about a training plan for your folks to be able to stand up and support this application as you bring on new customers, right? Then we'll be here if you obviously support it as a support organization to support the application moving forward. Does that draw a good picture in your mind of what would happen? Is that what you're looking for?
I appreciate you explaining how things work, and that definitely answers my question.
Okay. Okay. Well, if that's all you need today, I appreciate your time, and we look forward to talking to you at 1:30 Wednesday afternoon.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, Chris, have a good one, man.
Thanks, Rod.
All right, bye.
Hey. All right, now it's time to break it down. That was masterful. It's fun for the audience to see the questions at work through a role play, an actual hypothetical customer scenario. So let's start with breaking down these 5 questions, because I just now want to, outside of the role play, walk through each and just a quick rationale behind them. I'd like to then tie it into your Mr. Bant framework and just revisit one more time the concept of a mutual action or mutual engagement plan to turn a deal into a project management exercise. Right. So first off, the 5 questions. Can we start with the first one? Say the question, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about why it's important.
So first, let me back up.
All right.
There's one question I forgot to ask, and it's only because I typically in a meeting would have notes here that I would have prepared ahead of time, and I would check as I go through. And so you kind of get tied up in a conversation. It's good, and this is good for all reps. Prepare for your calls, right? Because this is what happens when you don't. Write down what is it that you want to get out of the meeting. If you have key questions you want to ask, write them down, right? That way you can check them as you go along, right? So this is a great example of what happens when you don't prep and when you don't take notes.
It's funny, by the way, I just recorded a cold call role play yesterday. I think I told you, and I showed up 5 minutes late and I kind of winged it, and it was good. There's a lot of insight, but even then it's just a testament to preparation. When you're in a real call with a customer making cold calls discovery, or even us doing podcasts, we always every day is a choice to put in the prep work. So I just like this call out for the audience and to prepare your questions in advance and have your checklist.
Have your checklist. So the one thing I didn't ask you was about risk, right? So Mr. Band is method, risk, right? Budget, authority, need, time frame, right? So method is, so how are you planning to implement this?
Yes.
Right? And that becomes important, particularly around technology, because if a customer says, well, we're going to implement it ourselves, you have to ask yourself, are these guys big enough to do that? Do they have the resources to do it? And do I need to dig deeper into that? The other part of that is, if they say, well, we're looking for help, then there's an opportunity there to either bring in a partner or bring in your own professional services, and that becomes another conversation.
A quick note is that in enterprise sales, when you're at Oracle, AWS, Google Cloud, the technology on its own, it's not enough. That companies need to be able to implement it to their unique environment, and there's a lot of integration work and migration work, and so partners are a key part of the sales process. So I'm good, call out on the nuances of selling enterprise technology.
And for your sales guys, some partners, you have different types of relationships. There are some partners that actually run the deal and put the deal on their paper. Right? So it's almost like it's leveraging resources to sell for you if you have that opportunity.
As I mentioned, this video is brought to you by Zoom Info, and I noticed so many companies out there, they are struggling, just spraying and praying with messaging that doesn't resonate. They're just getting radio silence from their prospects. A lot of reps are trying to manage their whole book of business from spreadsheets, maybe Google Sheets or Excel, because they've got data siloed in a ton of tools like the CRM, customer engagement software, marketing software. And that's a huge issue. It's costing companies pipeline and revenue. Now, I built my career on Zoom Info. I've used the contact database to source some of my biggest deals, like a 10 million over 3 deal at OfferUp when I was back at Google Cloud. But I've noticed Zoom Info has really transformed themselves and evolved from a database company to an entire go-to-market intelligence execution system. And I've been playing around with Zoom Info go-to-market workspace, and it is amazing to see how you can manage signals, leading indicators from your prospects that there's a need for your solution. It can trigger automatic workflows to tell sellers when to reach out. It can even give them messaging that's tailored to hit their prospects at the right time with the right message. It's truly empowering, not just insights, but follow through and execution for sellers that's leading to more pipeline conversion and more revenue. So if you guys want to learn more about Zoom Info and what they're up to, make sure to go to zoominfo.com and you're going to find some great insights and some good stuff. All right, let's get back to the conversation with Rod. I just want to comment on that. You met my buddy Jay, who was at Dell, and he used to hand off deals to partners that were former Dell sellers and Dell people to run his deals for him. So he was kind of quarterbacking to his partners. How cool is that? When, I was an AWS partner and I'd work with an AWS seller, and I actually would quarterback the deal myself on the partner side, which was nice for the AWS rep. So that is an interesting nuance when you work with partners.
Because you go back to what's your most valuable resource. It's your time, right? So now you've got someone else running a deal. I can go run other deals or do more prospecting or spend my time doing other productive things. And then the other question would be risk for Mr. MR. And so what's the risk of this project getting sidelined, right? So in our scenario, it was pretty clear there wasn't a lot of risk because this was essentially what you were doing. But one of the things that that I ran into frequently in my career is competing projects, right? You have projects competing for the same budget sometimes. So it's these large organizations, you've got a director or a VP of applications, you got a VP of infrastructure, they may be competing for the same dollars to get the same thing, right? And so understanding what that risk is will impact your thought process as you go into building your forecast.
So I just want to comment on this to clarify for the audience. You got me to share the risk to my business if we didn't get the project done. We had revenue on the line that we'd miss out on and damage a customer relationship. You're saying this is the risk to your deal and the project, and there could be competing projects going on in the organization where other lines of business are trying to get things done and they're fighting for the same budget.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Right.
So there's several dimensions of
risk. Right. Exactly. So understanding that can kind of give you a good picture and a little bit nuanced. So based on the answers that I get for those questions, again, my notes, I will mark it red, yellow, green. So if I say, when do you need to be implemented by? And you said December 15th, right? And I'm looking, okay, now, and today is November 10th. Can we reasonably get this implemented by then? That's a red flag, right? If I asked you who else needs to be involved in the decision process, and you said, well, I can make the decision, that's a red flag, right? Your answer was the CFO, legal, so everything that I would expect for an opportunity or a project of this size, that's a green. So in your mind, as you're asking these questions, based on the answers you get, if you feel they're all red, you're going to forecast that deal? Probably not. If it's all green, you probably will. If there's mixture, then you need to get clarification on those things that make you hesitant about forecasting the opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And so as you're having conversations with your management about the deal, about the opportunity, you want to make them aware of that as well.
So you ask the questions to understand what's the timeline, because that helps you reverse engineer the milestones that we're going to put into the plan.
Exactly.
And you ask who's involved, the decision makers, what happens if we don't get this done? What's the business impact? And you get that info, but beyond getting the info, you want to see if the answers are quote unquote legit. to actually see it. Like, are they just blowing smoke up my
Are they
ass?
kicking
Excuse my
tires? Just
French.
kicking tires? Yeah.
Are they, because you know what good answers look like, meaning they're actual
Right.
signals that they're serious and it's a real deal. As you said, if the implementation needs to happen in a month,
Right.
that's impossible.
Right.
That's a red flag. And we actually had someone in our organization in Tech Sales Accelerator, account executive at Splunk, that it turns out when they brought them, asked these qualifying questions and brought the mutual action plan to the table, they're like, oh, well, shoot, we have a renewal coming up like in a month and we need it done by then. And it wasn't realistic. And he actually disqualified the deal.
And so
So
he can go on and do what? He can go after people that want. He can have the right conversations with the right people.
he can no longer be a prisoner to hope to the wrong deal,
Right.
and give it up to focus on more important opportunities. Because one thing you've told us is that time is our most valuable asset,
Right.
and there's no reason to just waste time on a deal that has no legs. That's
Right.
an illusion, and that's disrespectful to oneself
Right.
and their time, and also the company's resources.
Yeah.
So disqualification, don't you think it's something to be celebrated
It's
and
exactly.
embraced?
It's just as important, and you want to do it gracefully. You say, "Listen, hey, I understand that based on your timelines, I don't think we can help you. But I'd be happy to send you more information about what you're trying to accomplish and how we can help
Yes.
you do that, and move on."
Yes. So is there anything else you want to add around the questions, like whether it's reasons behind some of the questions or Mr. Bant and how that plays into forecasting? You already hit on it, and I just asked this broad question because then we're going to talk about the ME mutual engagement plan at a high level.
Yeah.
So, but anything else on the questions or Mr. Bant you want to share with the audience?
It's probably the most important thing is to make it a conversation, right? So I've seen reps have questions, not necessarily these questions, but have questions, and it becomes an interview, right? And at the end of the interview, the prospect or customer is going, look, you could have sent that to me in an email, right? Particularly the higher up you get, and I know new sellers tend to be intimidated by, this guy's been selling, this guy's been in technology longer than I've been on the planet. How can I have credibility, right? So a couple of things. One is be conversational, right? And two is get out of the I and get into the we. So instead of, well, I've worked with other companies that have done blah, 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 blah. Hey, we, now you've got your whole corporation behind you and all the years of experience of your corporation behind you. It gives you more credibility and should give you more confidence.
Yes. And it's even, like say like a new SDR cold calling, which this conversation is really for account executives today, but hey, the SDR should be proactively thinking about how they qualify deals as they look to move up. Because especially at a company like Oracle, there's a clear promotion path. That's what's beautiful about it.
Yep.
But an SDR, when you're reaching out, you're like, oh, I don't have as much experience as a chief technology officer. When you turn it into it's not about you, it's our company and our resources. So at any level, that is a powerful paradigm shift.
Yep. I had so many SDRs and particularly SDRs that were transferring from or being promoted from SDRs to reps.
Yeah.
I used to run a 2-week program at my previous employer, and I would get that question a lot. So how can I talk to these guys? They've been, this guy's just like your dad. He's trying to get his kids through college. He's got a mortgage to pay. He's got a house note. He's trying to get his credit cards paid. He could be running a $10 billion corporation. He still has a lot of the same issues. So talk to him like you would talk to your uncle or to your dad, with respect, and be prepared and be knowledgeable, right? And bring information that they don't know to the table. Don't tell me what I already know. Tell me something I don't know, which is a whole nother podcast.
If you're a new account executive or you just got promoted and you're looking for coaching to help upskill, hit your targets, make more commission, then consider booking time with me at my Calendly link linked in the description of this video, because Tech Sales Accelerator has been helping reps like Nick at Splunk become #1 in his organization and rise up to the next level. All right, let's get back to the episode. I'm so happy you brought this up, though, to encourage people when they talk to executives to actually show up as a real human, treat them like a normal person, trying to get their kids through college.
Right.
I had a good conversation with an OG AWS rep that when they were really blowing up, he was a top performer. He ended up covering one of their biggest accounts. And he said one of his superpowers is he actually just treated executives like normal people.
Yeah.
And so that lesson, I just want to emphasize what you just shared. It's important for the audience.
Yeah.
He also was able to be more knowledgeable about a specific set of problems that AWS solved, or the same would go for an Oracle rep. You can become very knowledgeable about your problems that you solve and case studies of similar customers and maybe some specific insights.
Yep.
And that's your job. You don't have to have match the institutional knowledge that an executive has on their specific company, and there's no reason to, although you do your homework. And like you said, you want to bring a thoughtful perspective to the table.
Exactly. Okay.
So let's translate this to the, we could call it a mutual action plan. Back at Google Cloud, we called it mutual engagement plan. But let's walk through one, what it is and the purpose it serves, and maybe a high level of how you'd take the conversation we just had and translate it into project management. So first off, what is it? What do you call it, and what's its purpose?
It's just it's basically it's project management. So it's just a project plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So the key things are, what are the activities, right? So what's the task? Call it what you want. Call it the activity task. Who's responsible for managing it? Who needs to be involved? Right. So for example, if we're going to do one of the tasks might be a demo. Right. Who's responsible for that? It'd be me and my SC. Who will be involved? My SC, myself, as well as someone on the customer side. Probably the CTO is not going to be involved at that point. He'll probably assign it to someone, so we can figure out what it is they need to see in a demo to ensure that we're going down the right path. Okay, so the task, who owns it, who needs to be involved, right? What the status is, or the due date, and then the status, and as importantly, the last box is your go no go. Okay, so at each stage, if the demo goes off the rails, it's a no-go. If legal if we can't negotiate the terms and conditions, it's a no-go. So at each stage, and this is important when you come back and deliver the plan to your prospect, talk about the go no-go. That way they feel like, hey, so if we're at this point and we're not able to go, they'll agree that it's okay to walk away, and we'll walk away as friends.
Yes.
Okay, so and the prospect laid out the steps that they need, right? They need a demo, or we're talking about product production. They need a legal review, right? And some of the key things is to get all those steps laid out, make sure that all the steps that they need, the legal, the demo, right? And then the steps that you need. For example, in a deal this big, I might want to talk to the CFO. If I'm going to build out a TCO that I think is going to meet their needs, I need to understand what they are looking for. So possibly, it depends on how you want to do it. This is more qualifying, but I may say, okay, after the production of pilot or pilot to production demo, I'm expecting you to set up a meeting with me, you, and the CFO to review the TCO, to review the financials. Okay, so it's getting an agreement early on as a buy-in. It's quid pro quo. If I'm going to invest my resources and bring that to the table, then I expect you to do some things for me as well, right? So and so when I'm delivering and we're going over the JEP, the master plan, what I'm going to say is, so Chris, if the production goes well and we meet all your needs, would you be willing to set up a meeting with the CFO so that we can review the financials? And when I ask that question,
yes.
And when you ask those tough questions, stop talking. Right? One of the problems with sales guys is silence drives us nuts. So ask the question and stop talking, and give you, Chris, the CTO, a chance to think about it and go, okay, yeah, that sounds fair. Okay, and then if the CFO, the numbers, the financials don't work out, that's a go no go. So important that you include all the steps that the customer needs, but as important are the steps, the things that you need to help you further qualify, right? The things that you're going to be held accountable for by your management. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So once you've you've laid that plan out, you've both agreed on it, then you can move forward, start executing against that plan. A couple of things around selling technology. Don't stop the plan at the close of the deal, right? So you have a date with close date. So if we're going to do a pilot to production in this scenario, We probably need to close it by the end of February, mid-February,
Yeah.
right? Because we do have a pilot production, but we need probably 4 to 6 weeks, and your SC would be the guide on that. You need X amount of time, and this is built into your project plan. You need X amount of time to get them up and running by the 31st. Right. So, and again, you talked about reverse engineering, and it is you start with that implementation date, and you back up from there. Okay, to make sure everything aligns. I had a thought and I lost it. Um, oh, so if you're selling technology, don't stop at the close. Make sure you go through to implementation, training, and ongoing support, right? That gives the customer the assurance that you're not just a transactional person who's just trying to close the deal and then you're going to leave and like, hey,
Yes.
great, So, hey, I'm going to be with you not only through the execution of the agreements, but we're going to be with you to ensure that your implementation is successful and that you're happy, right? And I will continue to support you moving forward.
You hit on a very important point. I think of Matt Dixon's new book, The Jolt Effect. So he wrote The Challenger Sale, then he wrote The Jolt Effect, and how buyers fear an error of commission, making the wrong move.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we implement Oracle Cloud and it screws up and we're not supported and it ruins our business. And so what you're doing is you're giving them confidence by talking about the fact that we're going to be there with you through not just the implementation, but post-implementation as a partner. You're reducing the fear that things will go wrong. And so I think that is brilliant.
Well, that fear is real. And these are things that I've just learned, believe me, after 43 years of sales. I made every mistake you could make.
I brag about 10 years, by the way, and you got me quadrupled, more than that. So unbelievable.
So I've made a lot of mistakes, but we one of the things that has helped me is being empathetic, right? So I talked about having that conversation and treating that person like they're a person, and they are a person.
Yeah.
And some implementations can actually cost them their careers, right? So the risk is high for them, particularly, so I mean, if you're selling a small widget, no big deal. But when you get into these larger opportunities, high visibility, and careers can be made or broken.
Yes.
Right. So don't be flippant. Be very intentional about how you proceed with them. Again, meeting preps. Have the meeting, and then after the meeting, debrief with your internal people. When I say internal people, I mean my SC. My SC was always like my partner.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that sometimes organizations today, the reality is you don't have an assigned SC anymore. But what you can do is life is a relationship business, right? So if you are if you're working with an SC that you like, first of all, you want to constantly give feedback to their management that they're very good. So be very positive with them. And I can tell you that SCs and SC managers, they want to work with AEs that are successful, because one of the ways they get measured is how much revenue did they help close. So if you're constantly going down the line and your deals aren't closing and they're wasting their time, they're not going to work with you, right? So this planning, this master planning, preparing for these meetings, taking notes, all these things we're talking about are the things that are going to maximize your ability to close business and to build those SC relationships. So it's like, oh, it's Rodney. Yeah, I'll work with Rodney because I know he knows his business, right? And so if you can build those relationships, that SC becomes more of a partner. And so you want to use that SC, not use them, but leverage them and have, again, those pre-meetings. What do we want to get out of this meeting? What questions do we want to ask? What happens if this goes left field? What are we going to do? Conduct the meeting, and then afterwards debrief the meeting. Did we accomplish our goals? Where did we come up short? What do we need to do to fill that gap, right? And what are our next action items?
Yeah.
Right. So I kind of digressed a little bit there, but I think that's as important as well as having those internal relationships.
Rodney, this is powerful stuff. And it's been such a privilege to have you join Tech Sales Accelerator to support some of our account executives and SDRs as well.
Yep.
And to the audience, if you guys are an account executive who you now have this knowledge that you can implement, but you want some support with the implementation, you want some of that nuanced insight, Rodney and I are co-facilitating sessions, and he's running sessions, and it's a pretty unique experience to have the opportunity to learn from someone with 42, 43 something years of experience in enterprise technology sales. So if you're interested in having a conversation to see where Tech Sales Accelerator can support your goals as an account executive, or hey, if you're an SDR, we can help prime you as well. That link, that Calendly link is in the description of this video. I encourage you to book a session. And Rod, we're not done yet. It's funny, I'm calling you Rod and Rod. I'm going back and forth.
Rod's
Yeah, so you prefer Rod, and that's like you calling me Christopher. So
Right.
sorry about that. But you're not in trouble. It's all good stuff. But I thought before we wrap up, maybe I've like 2 more questions for you, because you did close, like, say, that $20 million deal. Beyond what we've already covered, any other nuggets of what helped you open, that opportunity and then close it for the audience so they can learn, like, what does it really take to close those types of deals?
Well, there's some luck involved as well. There's always a little bit of luck involved, right? So I was in the city that this company's headquartered in, and their CTO or CIO. This company is big in doing benefits like cystic fibrosis and things like that.
Yeah.
And they were doing an event where it was almost like speed dating, like meet this executive, right?
Yeah.
And so companies would pay X amount of money to have their reps go in and be able to meet these executives.
So real quick, they were doing like a charity event. So it wasn't their business, but the company itself, the energy company, was big into charity.
A lot of
they all do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there were a lot of companies involved, IBM, and there were a bunch of companies involved. And so, so you got like 10 minutes with these executives, and this particular is the CIO I wanted to meet. So I did some research for the CIO at the last minute, and I realized that she was a Penn State graduate, right? So talk about humanity, right? So, and the rep that had set all this up with two of us were going to meet with her. So this guy, senior AE, at the last minute goes, "Oh, I'm going to run and go get a beer." So he kind of like leaves me by myself there with her. So I walk up to her and I go, "We are," and she goes, "Penn State." High five. And it was just, and from there, so it was a little bit of luck. But I also had done some research and noticed that she had done a podcast with one of our competitors. And, I said, I saw your podcast. They were great. I said, but candidly, I was a little bit, and I use these words, I was a little bit butthurt, right? I said, you guys have been one of our customers for 35 years. AWS has only been around for, 10, 12 years. Like, what, like, I feel like, we're doing something wrong. So what I like to do is let's get together, have an opportunity to talk about what it is you look for in partners and how we can play in your multi-cloud environment to make you more successful. And she said, yeah, I'd be happy to get together with you. So research, be creative, bring them something that they're not, this is so important. Bring them something that they're not already getting inside, right? If a CIO can go to the director of infrastructure and learn something, why would they spend their time with you, right? So when I did meet with her, I talked about some unique analytics, some unique predictions around. This is a energy company, so one of their big challenges is when there's storms, right, and lines are going down. Where do we deploy our resources, right, and the quickest? So. And we have that, and I'd say we're the stewards of your data. We have all this data. Why don't we use that data to help you guys be more responsive in a time of storms? And they support areas that have a lot of hurricanes and that kind of thing. So, so not do some research. You never find, a little bit of luck once in a while doesn't hurt.
Yes.
I always talked about rep success. You need 3 T's, 2 of the 3 T's: timing, territory, and talent. Right?
Yes.
You got 2 of those, you're going to be successful. And a little luck helps along the way.
You hit on the reality of tech sales. Timing and territory play a big part in our success. Also, you researched and then you did what I call stumbling on serendipity to find a personal connection.
Yeah.
It was Penn State, right?
Yep.
And so talk about being fortunate, but here's the thing: you had to put in the work and the research to stumble on that serendipity.
Exactly, right.
Right. So your preparation met that opportunity, and you brought unique insights to the table on analytics use cases that were tailored to their business that the chief information security officer wouldn't have got from her own people.
Right.
So what great nuggets.
And I showed her respect about, I showed respect from the competition.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Slam the competition, you telling them they made a bad decision, which is telling them they're dumb. So don't slam the competition, right? So, hey, I saw your podcast. great podcast, great partnership. What can we do to establish that type of a partnership?
Yes.
Right. So take a positive approach, not a negative approach.
Yep. And you also yet again showed you did your homework, but you were playful. It's almost a little flirtatious.
Right.
Not that that was the
Right.
dynamic,
Right.
but it's poking a little fun too in a
Right.
respectful way. Like, and calling out that we have a synergy. You know, we are partners.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about a powerful company like Oracle. When I say powerful, meaning the breadth of Oracle,
Right.
a lot of companies are using Oracle in some way.
Yep.
So to tie a bow in the conversation, I just love some inspiration around the mental side of sales, because I know as you'd conduct trainings, you would encourage reps around the mental side of the game too. So just any
Yeah.
final encouragement around the mental side of things.
Stress management is a big deal, right? And I think that, it's really easy and very slippery to get into the use of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay. And when I I won't get too far into this, but in the '80s when I started, there were some things that everybody was doing. Like it was almost like a status symbol,
Yeah.
right? Drinking the best scotches, yada yada yada.
And I have to add in,
You know.
I got a buddy who was at Oracle, and he described the culture as Wolf of Wall Street, like
It was.
his
There
group.
you
And
go.
imagine this guy's, I'm
There you go.
32, he's a little older than me,
Right.
but that was like the mentality. And a lot
Right.
of us have seen Wolf of Wall Street, and we know some crazy things were going down
Well,
in that movie.
exactly.
And so there's a culture in a way you got to be mindful of. And I certainly had my fun.
I'm
I
glad
got
you
some
said
Oracle
that.
party stories.
I'm glad you said that, 'cause
Yeah.
I didn't want to go too far down into too much detail. So,
Yeah.
my mom used to say everything in moderation, right? So,
Yeah.
just be careful. There's a mental side. There is a mental side of the game. Um, and for you athletes, right? I mean, use some of the things that you learn in athletics, like being prepared, practicing ahead of time, right? Letting things go. Like that last play didn't work, let it go and move on to the next play. Um, that could be a whole nother podcast, the whole mental side, but there is a mental side to life, right? So
It is. And I just want to affirm that, like, one of the biggest messages I shout from the rooftops to people is it's what we're willing to give up. Old ways of thinking, old habits, even destructive habits. For me, that was drinking. It's what we're willing to give up that can cause quantum leaps in performance and purpose.
yeah,
So for me, at Oracle, I did still drink, and I ended up doing all right in spite of it. But years later, I brushed up against some real challenges with it. I gave it up, and it's really transformed my life. I did, it elevated my tech sales performance. I even became an entrepreneur.
yeah,
It took me to unpredictable places. So I like that you're giving us a little bit of a word of
Yeah.
warning,
Yeah.
to say, actually, guys, pay attention to like not getting into self-destructive habits, because there are a ton of what I call success assassins and side quests that distract us from our goals.
Yeah.
Yes, we want to stack habits. People talk all the time, like meditation and gratitude, and take care of your health in the gym,
Yeah.
and do the right things, make the cold calls. But I like that you hit on there's things you actually want to avoid.
Well, yeah. And so, I had a coach say something one time. I was like, whoa, that was really deep. And this was a defensive coordinator, and eventually was a coach at Florida, at University of Texas.
Yeah.
And he was asked, so you have all these players that was recruited by the previous coach, like, and you bring in a whole new program. What about the players? And he said, change is inevitable, growth is optional, right? And so as you move into these companies, know that things are going to always be changing, right? Every quarter, or the CRM looks different. You got a different manager, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You can fight it or you can grow with it, right? So growth is optional. And one last thing, and I don't know the exact number, but I would be willing to say that 50% of you guys are going to end up on a PIP, somewhere along the line in your career. I've been on it. A PIP.
Even the greatest.
Right.
I'm telling you, like some of the greatest in our industry that like these thought leaders and authors, they were fired for underperformance at one point.
Right.
If you stay in sales long enough, something's going to happen.
Right.
A layoff's going to happen. So
Something,
let's
right.
talk the reality.
But on the PIP, it goes back to change is inevitable, growth is optional. So if you're on a PIP, what your management is really telling you is that you need to change your behavior, right? So, assuming there's no personal other stuff going on. So if you're in a role where you're doing prospecting, you're not doing enough prospecting, you're not doing the right prospecting. Okay. If you're in an AE role, maybe you're not qualifying your deals good enough. So the point is don't look to blame somebody else because you're in a PIP. Look at what you're doing and say, okay, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to grow? And I've worked with reps myself. I've been on a pit before, and I just really after I got through the emotional of, oh my God, it's okay. So where do I need to grow? And the good thing is, as you grow and build those new skills, you carry those forward to help you be successful in the future.
Amen.
Right. So don't let it bowl you over. Just let it be a wake up call that, hey, needs to be a change in my behavior.
Amen.
Okay.
Our failure today, whether hung up on a cold call or getting put on a PIP and fired, does not impact our ability to succeed in the future. In fact, it fuels it. It better positions ourselves
to
grow as long as we respond in the right way.
Yep.
Rod, this was an amazing conversation.
Okay. Covered a lot of stuff.
We covered a lot. Thank you for your time, your energy, your passion, your inspiration. And to the audience, thank you for showing up. If you're looking for coaching to succeed as an SDR account executive and maximize this path, again, Calendly link is in the description of this video. You'll get the chance to work with someone like Rod with 43 years of experience, and myself as well. To your success in tech sales and in life, happy selling and happy living. And we'll see you in the next one.